Hi everyone, it's Tanner here with another practical tip to help you become leather savvy. Today, we're gonna do a review of a Louis Vuitton briefcase. So yes, we just went ahead and got a Louis Vuitton bag. So we can open it up and see from a leather perspective the quality, the money, and what Louis Vuitton brand is standing for. Hopefully it will clarify that for some of you guys. Let's open it up. Definitely comes in very nice packaging. They did a beautiful job. It was a great experience. And probably like most of you, I'm aware that you're not paying all that money for the bag or the leather itself. It's more of a status we're buying here. But some people may associate the brand with good leather crafts. So let's see how that comes through. Okay, it's a beautiful packaging. It's kind of like layered, creates that beautiful luxurious image that brand stands for, and definitely charge you for it. And this is a very typical Louis Vuitton design with their signature logo all over the bag. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of that, but I was made aware by the salesperson that this major part of the bag is actually not leather. It's made out of canvas printed on their signature logo. So basically, a lot of people may think they're getting a leather bag, but most of this bag is made out of canvas. So there's not much to review from a leather standpoint, but we're gonna calculate how much of this bag is actually leather, and then we're gonna try to see how that calibrates to our 2020 leather quality checklist. So let's begin. Now we're gonna measure the bag and try to calculate how much material is used in this bag and how much of it is leather. The biggest part of the bag is the main body on both sides. It measures about 11 inches by 15. So we're gonna make notes of these calculations here so we can determine the area of the bag. Now we can measure the gusset of the bag here. That's about 2.5 inches. And there's this actually leather portions, which is just the accent pieces. So they are about less than an inch wide, but let's say it's an inch. Just give it more buffer room here. 11 by 1 inch. Now we have two handles, so let's try to guess. It's about 2 inches wide and about 13 inches long each. 2 inches by 13, and we have two of them. Okay, now in a minute we're going to calculate the area for all these measurements and let you know how much of it is canvas and how much of it is leather in percentages. So at least it puts things into perspective. I made some calculations using the measurements taken a little earlier. So when you think of a leather bag, you would think it's all made out of leather. But in this case, forgive my poor artwork here, but the general body of the bag was about 70% of the material used is made out of canvas. Roughly about 3.5 square foot of canvas needed to make the body on both sides of the bag, and including the gusset. And the leather accents here, the strips coming down, and the handle on the bag we're talking now, is only 1.4 square foot. So 30% of the material on the body is actually leather. Interestingly, the biggest piece of leather used in this bag is the strap. So the entire strap is made out of leather, and that measures about 5.5 square foot. That's pretty much bigger consumption than the entire body of the bag. It's kind of surprising it doesn't look that big, but since it's double layer leather, you use quite a bit of leather. Now we're gonna look into the quality of this leather they used here, and we're gonna evaluate each of those senses we talk about in our 2020 system video and see how this leather calibrates in Louis Vuitton selection. Alright, let's score this leather using our 2020 technique. As you remember, the first step is to look. And we said look for inconsistencies. we're gonna come close to the grain of this leather accents, and try to see if we can catch any inconsistencies, that imperfections that coming from the natural leather, and try to inspect as wide and big of an area you can. In this bag it's a little difficult because pieces are thin or narrow, but I don't see much of a inconsistency, so this gives me an idea of a heavily corrected leather. So this will be your top grain, and even possible could be a genuine leather. I can't tell by looking at this because it's heavily corrected. The makeup is so heavy on this, it's really hard to tell. But calibration wise, this gives me a feel of 3, maybe 2, 2.5, because I don't feel that natural imperfect beauty from the leather itself. And some additional tips and tricks in this look step: you need to try to find some areas you can catch the very opening of the leather, the edges, the corners that are not finished and closed up, to see the back and the cross section of the leather. So that's one of the biggest clues you can get. You're actually looking at the leather, or maybe a fake leather that could reveal some fabric fibers or a fabric base that you might think, oh, this is not leather. In this case, we found an opening here. It's definitely leather, but it could be a top grain or genuine. We don't know for sure how to tell at this point. And another tip on the look, you might pinch your fingernail in it, and usually the mark sticks in leather products. It will stay there for a while before it bubbles up again. And if you're looking at a fake leather, this will bubble up really quick. It's gonna go away as you remove your finger. So that's a determinant factor. If your nail mark sticks on the leather, it is a leather product. It could be genuine, top grain, or full grain, but it is usually an indication of a leather, real leather you're looking at. So our calibration from the look step is, let's be generous and give them a 3. In step 2, we're gonna touch. We're gonna try to listen to our fingers and how do we feel about the liveliness and the vibe of the leather we're inspecting here. So in general, when a leather scores low in the look aspect, it may score pretty parallel in the touch, because heavily corrected leathers lose that connection that your fingers may detect with touch. This one doesn't give me much to feel. It's very standard, very uniform feel all around. There's not much bumps or variation in the grain that I can feel, and I don't feel that live energy either from an aniline or full grain I would detect otherwise. So in this touch aspect, I would say this leather scores another 3 if we want to be generous. Step 3 is to smell. It's kind of my favorite step because there's a lot of sensations you can detect through smelling. So simply smell different parts of the leather sections of this bag. I got a stronger smell in the strap, probably because this was inside the bag for a longer period of time. The trims on the bag smells more like perfume, which is probably coming from the store. It was heavily perfumed. But this one, although it's not a very distinctive or strong smell, I can detect the base. That's absolutely leather, and it's a good base. It's a good leather. There's some vegetable tannins in there. It could be a retannage, heavy veg tan there. I don't think it's full veg tan. Nobody does this kind of heavy makeup veg tan for commercial products. But there is a good base, but it is also overpowered with the thick pigmented finish, that corrective finish we detected through looking and touching. So they kind of balance each other out. That heavy finish doesn't smell that good. It gives me plasticky and chemical feel. So it is a mediocre smell, and it's minor too. It's not a strong smell, which is not a bad thing. Some smells disturb people, and this strap is going to be closer to your head. Probably will be not ideal for everybody if it's heavily smelling. So I would give it a 3. This is a fair 3. And this step, smelling step, will probably the best part of inspecting this leather piece. Last step, we're going to read the labels that comes with the material. So try to find any kind of information, description, or labeling that comes in the product, on the product packaging. In this case, I couldn't find much on the product packaging, but I found a little paper that discloses the material used in this bag. So here, as you see, I think this part is the English part. It says coated fabric, which is the canvas, the main material of this bag in the body. And the second one is cowhide leather trim, all the accent details and the strap we discussed and we're reviewing right now. And man-made lining, which is a fabric lining inside the bag. It's totally normal. Most of the bags has a form of lining, and usually this is fabric or 100% wool felt in most high quality applications. So that part is totally normal. And a little quick tip here, this is the only piece of labeling I could find in my packaging. So that tells me this: there is not much to talk about in terms of leather and the quality of the leather. When you are looking at an item that is exceptional in leather selection, then the craftsman or the brand talks a lot. They love to talk about that because that's the proudest point of this product. You're gonna find some inserts, you're gonna find some material that tells the story of that leather and why it is special. In this case, there is not much to find because there is not much to tell. The sale point here is not the leather, it's the status. The reading part of this evaluation, we would give this bag a 3, but because of the global brand recognition and the quality perception associated with this brand, we're gonna bump it up to a 4. It definitely counts for something, and we will definitely use it, evaluate it at this stage by bumping it up 1 point. Okay, so let's see what score came out of our evaluation. Again, we looked at the leather pieces of this Louis Vuitton bag, and if you remember our scoring, the look, we gave it a generous 3. It could be 2. Touch, same, we gave it a generous 3. Smell was a fair 3. And to read, we said it could account for 4. And this is actually a 3, but bumped up with the image of the brand. Brand always goes into our reading step, and obviously it's a big, one of the largest brands in the space. So it adds a value. So we gave it a 4. And when we sum it up, the total score for this bag is 13 out of 20. That will represent your 65% at your college grades, or a 3-star on an Amazon or Google review, which in my terms doesn't qualify or convince me to buy anything. So it's kind of a fail, and especially if you think about how much money you spent on this bag, it is definitely a fail on the value you get for the leather quality. So what you're getting from Louis Vuitton is not the leather or the quality of the leather. You're buying the status. And that's also a great thing that people seek after. And as long as you're aware of that, that's totally fine. It's a great brand. They have millions of followers and fans, and they enjoy the status Louis Vuitton provides them. Let's review our evaluation of this Louis Vuitton bag. Let's remember our points from the earlier steps. We looked at it and we gave it a 3, a generous 3. It could be 2. And for touch step, it's the same deal. It was a generous 3. For smell, it was a fair 3. And reading the label, probably if it was a different brand, we could use 3, but we're talking about Louis Vuitton, a global, largest brands that everybody knows. That's why we want to bump it up to 4. It definitely adds a value to it, and that's a 4. And we sum it up to a 13 score out of 20. In comparable scoring units, we could say it's a 65% on a college grade, or a 3-star review on a Facebook or Google review. So this doesn't qualify me or convince me to buy anything. It's barely a pass. In my terms, it's a fail, especially given how much money you just spent on this bag. The value you got in terms of leather quality, it is absolutely a fail. My point in this video was to make when you're buying a Louis Vuitton product, you're not actually buying a leather or quality leather product. You're buying a status. As long as you're aware of that, you understand that, every dollar you spend on it is worth it, because status is a value a lot of people seek after. And Louis Vuitton does a great job providing that, but not the greatest leather. And now, some of you may be wondering how a 1600, 1700 leather bag should look like. So we have a project on this bag to show you how it would look like if the entire ticket of that price was coming from the quality of the leather. We're gonna take this bag apart and we're gonna apply the most beautiful full grain vegetable tan leather you can ever imagine and finish this side using that on exactly same bag, same design. And we're gonna keep the other side as it is. And we're gonna record the entire step of this process, how we make it, how it comes alive, and then how it looks at the end. It's gonna be fun. Hi, this is Tanner here. Today I want to show you how we make this beautiful bag, starting with a raw bloody hide. we're back with some very exciting results. As promised, we traveled 6,000 miles to open this bag up and fix it using really good leather. And we are very excited to show you how the Frankenstein bag looks like. So when you spend $1,700 for a bag, for a leather bag, this is what should came out of that box. The look should be this, not this. This bag will turn heads because of its beauty, the quality of the leather, not just the logo printed on it. So to further illustrate what came out of this operation, we kept the guts came out of this bag. And here it is. It is a lot of plastics, a lot of fabrics, flimsy materials, and a little bit of, at best rating, a mediocre leather. But forget all this. You don't need this for $1,700. And we took one step further to show you how that bag should look like once it's completely made out of that good leather. And this is what we came up with. So this bag, once you put it on and you walk around, no matter what brand is on it, that will turn some heads. And this is the status coming from the quality of the material you're buying, not from a logo that was printed on the item. As long as you understand that, we are done with this video's purpose. We hope you enjoyed this video, had fun, and learned something about leather. And if you want to watch more content like this, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and push that bell icon to get notified every time we upload something fun and informative. Thanks for watching, and be leather savvy.